ECOVACS flew a number of creators, including myself, out to Berlin, Germany to see their event at IFA. And while I originally thought this was just typical hype surrounding any announcement, I started to feel like maybe this time was different. ECOVACS talked about what a big step forward the D-Bot X11 Omni is in many aspects during their press conference. Before I left for Germany, ECOVACS also sent me an X11 OmniCyclone to check out. And in putting my own experience together with talking directly with ECOVACS and seeing the robot at the conference, I think I have a good idea of where this vacuum shines and scenarios maybe where it's not ideal. So how much is this all new tech actually an upgrade over something like the ECOVACS X8 Pro Omni I reviewed after CES in January, or the Roborock Saros 10R I reviewed earlier this year? Is ECOVACS's X11 Omni enough of a step forward to be the ultimate new gold standard for an Apple home robot vacuum, or is another lower cost alternative still better? If you're new here, I'm Eric Welander. Welcome to my channel all about Apple and smart home tech. If you're into either of those things, consider subscribing. And while ECOVACS did help cover my travel to Germany and sent me this robot, this video is not sponsored. The biggest changes in this robot are actually over in the base station. But before we get to that, let's talk about improvements in the robot itself. Compared to the X8 Pro Omni's roller mop, the X11 has ECOVACS Osmo Roller 2.0 tech. This is a slightly improved roller with a spiral pattern of firmer sponge-like material, which is supposed to be better at scrubbing floors. I didn't notice the better scrubbing or mopping during the cleaning process, but one thing that I did notice is that the roller mop extends out further from the vacuum. It actually goes 1.5 centimeters further away from the robot than previous D-Bot models like the X8 and X9. And I noticed it extending more frequently than I remember my X8, and this helps just making sure that the roller mop is getting into the edges of your room and right up to baseboards, things like that, cleaning those harder to get areas. The D-Bot X11 also has the extending side brush design that ECOVACS released earlier this year with the D-Bot X9. Instead of being shaped like a propeller, this new shape is supposed to be better at flinging debris into the center of the vacuum to be sucked up. ECOVACS is also catching up to their competition with a design around the wheels to help the robot lift over ledges up to 0.94 inches in height. This is not the tech we've been seeing from other robots that will allow it to lift over bigger ledges or even climb stairs, but it should be helpful for door jambs or slight changes to floor levels like maybe you'd find in an older home. I don't have a proper size ledge to test this in my home, but ECOVACS had a demo of it at their booth at IFA, and it looked great. I still think ECOVACS has some catching up to do in this area, with adding motors and tech to lift over higher ledges. One area where I think ECOVACS is really the leader though is in their powerful airflow and suction they can put inside of their vacuums. The X11 boasts 19,500 pascals of suction and 38 CFM of airflow. To illustrate this point at IFA, ECOVACS had a demo where the robot airflow was hooked up to be strong enough to actually lift a person in this sort of parallel tube. But what's the difference, you might wonder, between suction and airflow? Well, suction probably makes more intuitive sense, right? That's the force that the vacuum uses to lift dirt off the ground. Airflow refers to the amount of air the vacuum can move for things like emptying into the base station. If the vacuum can suck up larger things on your ground, it also needs the force to get them out of the vacuum and into the base station. Otherwise, you risk getting a lot of stuff just stuck in the vacuum. Speaking of, this is probably a good time to get to the base station. The big change with the X11 is that it's bagless. This means, like a bagless normal vacuum, you don't need to buy vacuum bags. ECOVACS markets this savings as maybe $100 per year, which sounds about right to me, but it will vary depending on how much you use your vacuum. If you buy a robot vacuum to last maybe 3 to 4 years, then that can add up. And this is not the first bagless robot vacuum in the industry, or even the first from ECOVACS, but it's great to see ECOVACS add this feature to a flagship high-end model. It's important to note that if you do live outside the US, ECOVACS is selling the X11 without the bagless base station, just branded as the X11. Wherever you live, you need to get the OmniCyclone version to get the bagless design. Another change to the base station and the D-Bot X11 vacuum is that it really improves deep cleaning. So maybe where you asked a previous robot to clean all the rooms in your main floor and then you left for the day only to find that it missed 1 or 2 of the rooms when you get back home in the evening, this might be just because it ran out of battery during the cleaning cycle and couldn't get all the rooms cleaned in time. The X11 has an option for fast charging, which adds 6% charge to the battery in 3 minutes. This means while washing the mops during the cleaning cycle, the robot also gets a boost in battery power, which increases the area that it can clean in 1 cycle. ECOVACS talked about this new base station design as well as being this pillar design approach that was somehow revolutionary. I'm not seeing it really being anything more than putting the bagless dustbin front and center. The functionality lost compared to, let's say, the D-Bot X8, which I tested earlier this year, is the ability to see the level of clean and dirty water tanks just by looking at the base station. But there are actually 2 other tanks you'll also need to think about in this base station, but not nearly as often. Like many robot vacuums, the D-Bot X11 has a mop cleaning solution tank that it uses to mix with the clean water to make a solution to clean your floors. It also has an additional deep cleaning solution in the base station. ECOVACS says that it will use this to go back to problematic spots that need extra cleaning. I've never seen this done in practice, but I guess it is a nice upgrade. ECOVACS also says the only supported cleaning solutions are the ones they sell. If you don't want to think about it, then I'd recommend following this advice. But the main concern here is that you don't use a solution that will degrade or erode all those little parts inside your vacuum. I told ECOVACS that they should consider recommending an organic or eco-friendly alternative to these cleaners, as I see those as popular concepts here in the US and something their current solutions don't really offer. We'll see what happens there, but I'm not holding my breath. Either way, having good cleaning solution mixed in with your mop water is a great feature to have in a robot vacuum, and I'm glad to see it on the X11. Overall, the ECOVACS X11 Pro Omni is a big step forward for ECOVACS, but its body is 3 inches thick, and including the wheels, it's 4 inches off the ground. This is a thick robot compared to lots of thin models from the competition, most notably the Roborock Saros 10R. I'd love to see ECOVACS make a D-Bot X series vacuum that is a lot thinner and still has lots of these great specs. The fast charging, I think, is a real difference maker though. It has enabled my vacuum to really deep clean our entire first floor when we're gone from home. It doesn't skip rooms, and that's a huge plus. So with every generation of these robots, another thing ECOVACS is very keen on improving is their voice assistant, which you can talk to. And now, of course, like everything in the smart home, it's powered by AI. So they have Yiko GPT, and these things continue to get more and more talkative about what's going on during the setup process and the cleaning process, which is all fine, but it's all just something that I mostly keep turned off in the app, so it's not actually listening for its wake word. But to demo it right now, okay Yiko, surprise me. It's thinking, oh. But you can do more practical commands like, okay, Yiko, vacuum and mop the kitchen and the dining room.
Sorry, Yiko does not support starting in this way.
Oh, I guess it doesn't support starting in this way. But one other thing I love about these Omni series of robots from ECOVACS is that because of their little design here on the top, it makes it perfect to put googly eyes on and give it more of that personality. So let's put some googly eyes on this X11 here. There we go. But even though I don't like talking to this robot with its voice assistant, there's something else that I think it's absolutely best in class in, and probably your best choice if you want this feature. ECOVACS Apple Home integration is still the best I've tried. It actually shares the zones from the robot with Matter, which means I can trigger the robot to clean just my kitchen and dining room as part of my Good Night shortcut, which I talk about along with a bunch of other nighttime smart home improvements in this video linked here on the screen. Subscribe to my channel and my email newsletter you can find in the description. Thanks again so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.